On Wednesday, a Barrie resident urged the City Council to reject the Bradford Street corridor plan. The street widening project includes multi-modal transportation in alignment with expected growth.
Item number 4, loss of revenue. We're all for improving the street, but it can be done in a scaled-down version by reducing the center landscape strips and road width and thereby increasing property tax revenue through housing supply and more people spending money into the local economy. The loss of tax revenue specific to 244, 246, and 248, our site on Bradford Street, using 17 Jacobs Terrace development density as a precedent, 48 units at $2,766 for 2023 property tax, sourced from 2 Toronto Street condo, is $132,678 per year in perpetuity, and these taxes would be lost. Finances. A scaled-down version would cost far less to maintain and still achieve the same objective.
During the discussion on downtown infrastructure at Barrie City Hall, councillors stressed the need for safe traffic flow and wider roads to accommodate future developments like the transit hub. Concerns were raised about the impact on property owners affected by the road changes, with discussions on fair compensation.
So I'll be voting against the Bradford EA as tabled, and I'm going to give a couple reasons why. We shouldn't be building a barren, high-speed arterial on Bradford Street, a block away from the water. That's kind of a given. While we do need to move traffic through our downtown, the opportunities that we have to not only create a really great space on Lakeshore, which we already have, but even on Bradford Street, a more quaint place this is a blank canvas, essentially. That's what Bradford is. So that's not a place where we should be creating what will essentially be, no one's doing it intentionally, but creating a barren high-speed arterial.
During the meeting, councillors also discussed the concept of complete streets, emphasizing pedestrian safety and accessibility considerations in the proposed changes. Mayor Alex Nuttall did not support residents' argument, expressing concerns about narrowing Bradford Street, and he emphasized the importance of planning for future development and transit needs.
I think we need to make sure that we're planning good in routes and out routes of our downtown. Having grown up in the southeast corner, when you're coming down Lakeshore, if you're no longer taking Lakeshore, the plan was always to turn Bradford Street into the main artery into our downtown and take people off of Lakeshore and leave that for folks who are finding a destination there. So at this point, for me, to reduce the size instead of have it as wide as possible for the many years of development that will be taking place along there, it doesn't fit my view, certainly.
Taking the lead from Mayor Alex Nuttall, the council voted to approve the Bradford Street Corridor Plan. Only the Ward 9 councillor, Sergio Morales, voted against it. Following is the video of the meeting.
Deputations this evening. There's one deputation from Simon Captain. Was I even close? You can tell me if I wasn't. Okay. Sir, if you could come to the podium. You have 5 minutes once you start speaking for your deputation. And if you could, just for the record, state your name so I do it correctly in the future.
Yeah.
Is this a light or not? Is there a light here or no? No? Okay, I'll do my best. My name is Simon Kaptein, K-A-P-T-E-I-J-N. Okay, ready? Dear Mayor, members of Council and student mayor, I personally have been involved in development for about the past 35 years. The proposal as presented is severely degrading the opportunity to develop this site and others to build so much needed housing. Questions and comments to the proposed project and memorandum. Items 1 and 2, auto-oriented design. The memorandum mentions a high-quality complete street. Question, is the road widening a cost-effective and best practice way to determine housing? And where is that in the official plan within the MTSA district? Kindly provide a specific policy. The memorandum encourages supporting cyclists, pedestrians, and transit users. Question, what is the existing and proposed curb-to-curb distances at the intersection at Bradford and Tiffin North Crosswalk? And Question, how much further is the north crosswalk for pedestrians to cross the roads beside the transit hub, and how many additional lanes are there? Are speeds lowered at intersections to 40 kilometers? Item 3, development yield. Memorandum claims that the study recommendation will not negatively impact development yield, but it does. A scaled-down version showing the approved plan for the city of Hamilton at 26 meters wide, inclusive of 4 traffic lanes, was presented on June 20th, 2023. The difference of 8 meters is what is proposed along Bradford Street, which would equate to a significant amount of additional housing unit. This no one can challenge. Site-specific for our properties on Bradford Street, the picture attached shows how much high-density developable land is taken away under the existing official plan and additional protection lands identified through the study. See the pic attached with the blacked out area. This is completely avoidable. With the proposed road widening and using 17 Jacobs Terrace approved density as a precedent, roughly 760 square meters of high-density zoned lands will be taken away, and this would equate to 48 units lost. This would also affect the neighboring properties 250 and 252 Bradford Street. The proposed road raises questions at Tiffin and Bradford. Why do we require to shift the access into the waste treatment plant when I have seen hundreds of trucks accessing the plant with no problems at all? The pics show the negative effect and impact on the proposal on our site, which can be avoided by scaling down, not straightening the existing road, and modifying the access into the waste treatment plant. Item number 4, loss of revenue. We're all for improving the street, but it can be done in a scaled-down version by reducing the center landscape strips and road width, and thereby increasing property tax revenue through housing supply and more people spending money into the local economy. The loss of tax revenue, specific to 244, 246, and 248, our site on Bradford Street, using 17 Jacobs Terrace development density as a precedent, 48 units at $2,766 for 2023 property tax, sourced from 2 Toronto Street condo, is $132,678 per year in perpetuity, and these taxes will be lost. Finances. A scaled-down version would cost far less to maintain and still achieve the same objective. Open up more land for development and increase tax revenue. Question, is it worth the time, effort, to money spent to negotiate expropriations on the smaller properties along Bradford Street where developable land is taken away? A scaled-down version would alleviate this. The total developable land plots are objectively decreasing. Item number 5, safety at Bradford and Tiffin intersection. Straightening out a road will increase speed. Question, what is the design speed for the proposed road, and what is it now? Since when does a wider and straighter road with further pedestrian crossing distances lead to improved safety for vulnerable pedestrians and cyclists? Question, is there a sign-off from the safety consultant that wider and straighter roads are safer? Is there a sideline issue? Then reduce the speed limit to 40 kilometers per hour or less in that section. There's no need to take away high-density zoned lands by straightening and widening the road. Item number 7, land conveyances not discouraging redevelopment due to land conveyances in the memorandum. On our side, it will, because as proposed, there will not be much left to develop. It will be difficult for a developer to combine properties between John Street and Tiffin due to the individual owners and frontages of 50 or less feet. Conveyance will certainly not encourage development and create a wait-and-see attitude. A conclusion would be, we understand the decision needs to be made to move forward, but we don't think this is the right one. A scaled-down version of this proposal, or alternative 5 in the staff report, seems better suited and reach Council's strategic priorities given its improvement to housing affordability, community safety, infrastructure investments by supporting active transportation, climate benefits, and responsible governance by increasing the tax base as opposed to increasing infrastructure and maintenance costs. With respect to our properties, we ask if the recommendation is to be approved, it will be approved within the existing 34-meter right-of-way only and remove the additional protection identified through the study. See the pic attached with the blacked out area. Respectfully.
Thank you, sir. And we did give an extra about 40 seconds on top of the 5 minutes, okay?
I'm sorry?
We did give an extra 40 seconds on top of the 5
Thank
minutes
you.
there.
Appreciate that.
So thank you for your deputation. Are there any questions for the deputed? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation this evening. We'll be dealing with it further on in the evening there. Okay? Thank you, sir. Moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Morales, the Section B of General Committee Report dated April 23rd, 2024, now circulated to be adopted, 24G089, referral motion 23G153, Bradford Street Corridor Study, Municipal Class Environmental Assessment, Wards 2 and 8. Are there any questions or comments? Over to Councillor Morales.
Thank you, Mayor Nettle. So I'll be voting against the Bradford EA as tabled, and I'm going to give a couple reasons why. Simon, sorry, I can't get your last name right, but I'm not going to repeat Simon's points. They were great and thorough in detail, specifically about the questionable need to straighten out a road, because that doesn't exactly produce safe speeds. Members of council will remember I kind of spent a little bit of time with this with some other members of council a couple of months ago. This has converged at a time when I've been allocating a lot of my time to other things as well. So Simon, I know I owed you a response, but I'll more than honor it with my comments here. Here's why I won't be tabling the Bradford E as tabled. We shouldn't be building a barren high-speed arterial on Bradford Street a block away from the water. That's kind of a given. While we do need to move traffic through our downtown, the opportunities that we have to not only create a really great space on Lakeshore, which we already have, but even on Bradford Street, a more quaint place this is a blank canvas, essentially. That's what Bradford is. So that's not a place where we should be creating what will essentially be, no one's doing it intentionally, but creating a barren high-speed arterial. I'm also of the strong opinion, personally, that we will never build a rapid bus transit, the BERT lane on Bradford, and here's why. But if we bake it into the EA, like that there's a possibility, but that by extending the right-of-way, we could get this, it's going to have two effects. It's going to mean that we're going to just end up with more right-of-way, and when the BERT doesn't happen, we're just going to end up with fast lanes, refer back to point about high-speed barren arterial. And number two, it's going to stifle two things, redevelopment on Bradford Street, because you're now taking significant meters, almost, in my personal opinion, not backed up by what's necessary on Bradford Street. And some of these parcels, you look at the Dairy Queen, you look at some of the little smaller ones, an extra 8 meters on the front means there's no project. And hence the point to Simon about housing, about development fees, et cetera. So number two is going to stifle redevelopment. And number two, it's going to stifle restoration of homes of unique character. I don't want to call them heritage homes, but I know I touched base with Councillor Nixon on this, and months ago, some of these homes will be swallowed up. Like they can't be restored. So people are in a situation for the next 15 years where people are going to be in a situation next year's, and I know I spoke with Councillor Nixon on this. I'm not saying he's agreeing, but I had this conversation months ago where the people that are currently in those homes, specifically between John and Tiffin, they have no incentive. Now, you can do as you want. I'm not giving you directive, but it appears that they would have no incentive to restore a roof, to do really good work to their porch, because they're stuck in this limbo thing where all that money, they're not going to get it back because they're in the way of the right-of-way. So it stifles redevelopment and restoration efforts of homes with unique character, dare I say heritage. So it's an interesting one. Mayor Nettle, there's also another point, another strong point that increases my belief that a BERT may never, and again, it's not predicting or what I want to say, it's just my opinion of my expectations, won't happen on Bradford Street. And that's the fact that we might get a future redevelopment of the Wellington Street Plaza, which completely changes the angles at which we want to move traffic quickly. If there was nothing at Wellington, which when we started this, we didn't have an idea that something might come in the Wellington area. Shouldn't limit it to the plaza. Bradford Street made sense. But if there's now an expectation that maybe Wellington Plaza and area becomes a critical urban redevelopment node, you want to angle that. One wants to re-angle the trajectory of moving traffic fast, not onto Bradford Street, but on something, and I'll take no credit for it. Hannah Bregman said years ago, onto Ann Street. That is the now it's barren right now, with the exception of a couple of industrial businesses. But if Wellington, the connectivity to Wellington to Essa Road, the preferred path becomes Ann Street, because now if you do it on Bradford Street, you need to develop some sort of BERT or something on Dunlop Street West, and we're likely going to do it anyways on Essa Road, whether it be the rail spur or on the actual asphalt. So you're going to have 1, 2, and 3. Whereas if you do it on Ann Street, you only have to do Ann Street and Essa Road. You don't have to do Dunlop Street West. So with the fact that Wellington Plaza is coming forward, this more and more, beyond Hannah's great points about the urban design, it more pushes it towards it being more appropriate on Ann Street, which again further makes me confident that we don't need this much right-of-way to efficiently and effectively move traffic in and out of our downtown. Finally, Simon, again, I appreciate your presentation. I'm not making these comments for you or because of you. Your properties are very much affected. If anybody looked at how the road needs to be straightened out, his properties are gone. Like, he has no incentive to ever fix it. I am not telling you, it's not legal advice, but you have no incentive to ever fix a roof, a shingle, repave the asphalt, et cetera. So I'm stuck in a situation where I don't want to see Bradford Street, almost by design, inconsequential, become dilapidated before it gets better. And I just don't think we need this Bradford Street corridor. Again, I know this was referred months ago, and my apologies, Mayor Nuttall, between some of the housing stuff, some of the other files, this kind of got caught up in the weeds, and there was no change. But I do commend Simon for the research and the deputation that he gave. So I'll be voting against this, needless to say.
Thank you, Councillor, for the comments. Are there any other comments? I'm going to go with Councillor Harvey, then Councillor Harris. I believe you had your hand up as well.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall. I'm not sure if is Ms. Banfield available for questions by chance? Okay, great. Yeah, just a question to staff, because, like, I mean, I feel for the position that the deputant's in, but then when I look at the one map that would be on page 36 of the staff report, where it really hones in on that Bradford-Tiffin intersection, which is the area that's affecting the properties that the deputant spoke about, I can also see why the change in the curvature of the road is there, and I just want some either confirmation as to why it was done, but it appears to me, because there's also a dedicated bus lane that's being added on the east side of that intersection, and it's obviously adding an additional length for those left turn lanes, whereas right now the left turn lane is extremely short. Would that be the rationale, and actually it would actually be making the intersection much safer and being able to handle a higher traffic volume? Or is there some other rationale as to why the curve in the road is being proposed the way it is?
Thank you very much for the question, Councillor Harvey, and through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Harvey. You are correct. In your, it is about the intersection improvements, for sure, are about the future state to respond to all of the changes that are going to be seen in that area. Most significantly, obviously, is our own transit hub investment, but you are correct. That is the rationale for that.
Okay, great. Thank you. I will be supporting the staff recommendation here. Just to touch on one thing that Councillor Morales just spoke about pushing the traffic to Ann Street. To be quite honest with you, when you look at how far west Ann is from Bradford, and I don't think that we could or should ever think that just Ann Street is going to be there to allocate that type of traffic, or else we're going to run into problems the way we had on Mapleview before. Now we've got these additional arterial roads that are around to support the traffic. So having more than one main arterial road that's at least 4 lanes wide is what we need in this part of the city, because obviously when Lakeshore was done and it was only down to a single lane, it was done specifically because they don't want the large flow of traffic onto Lakeshore unless you've got a reason to go to Lakeshore. However, it is a much more scenic drive than what it would be on Bradford. But I definitely will be supporting it. I feel for the deputant because, yeah, it does wipe out his 3 properties with this. But when you look at it from a safety and an overall perspective, it definitely makes sense to me.
Councillor Harris.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall. I think my first question was covered by Councillor Harvey's question. I thought there was 2 really important points raised. Mr. Captain obviously raised the point about potential to increase the housing and density on Bradford, and of course, Councillor Morales mentioned similar, and also the safety. And I did notice the memorandum that we received from staff talked directly about why we're trying to straighten that out, the area out towards Tiffin. For the Ward 2 councillor myself, that's a dangerous intersection. We get lots of accidents at that intersection. So obviously, I understand from the memorandum that, and Ms. Banfield, you can correct me, that really that straightening was about visibility as we come to the intersection and take the curvature out of the intersection. Is that correct, Ms. Banfield? Through your Mayor Nuttall, sorry.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Harris, that is correct. And just one other thing to point out is, the 34-meter right-of-way, and it is in the memorandum, is what's in the 2051 official plan, so that is consistent. But back to that intersection, 100% that you are correct, Councillor Harris.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure, I know staff had a lot of consultation gone into this Essa Road and Bradford corridor, and I wanted to make sure that safety obviously was paramount in the discussions that were held on this decision. And the other thing I wanted to mention or ask was about the density. Obviously, the corridor, it's an important corridor within the area that's designated to be intensified. And the memorandum also covers, because there's differing opinions, and we've heard a couple tonight, staff's consideration for this being developed in such a way that it would actually improve the opportunity for increased density. Was that central to the decision about this decision?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Harris. So really the environmental assessment really is trying to tie the proposed land use, which is going to be similar, if not identical to some of the applications we've already seen, high density, high volume of users, most likely multi-residential buildings with, hundreds, if not thousands of units. It's the connection of ensuring that we have the infrastructure to align with those increased residents. And that's ultimately where the two go hand in hand. And yes, while there may be additional land taken up through the proposed right-of-way width in the official plan, that's what we're going to want if we're going to have that many residents and people in the area. We're going to want proper infrastructure, and that goes beyond vehicular traffic.
Great, thank you. So so in the net, the design is to support intensity in the growth center, not to inhibit it. Is that a fair, categorization? Yeah.
Apologies. Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Harris. Absolutely, that is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. Councillor Corser, and then Councillor Kungle. Councillor Kungle.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to you, Ms. Banfield, if I may, just to build on Councillor Harris's comments. As an example of that, my understanding, unless I'm incorrect, was the Smart Centers, 3 towers that are all going to be exiting on Bradford. Is that correct?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Kungle, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Councillor Corser, and then Councillor Nixon.
Yeah, I have to say, through you, Mayor Nuttall, I just wanted to say that as well, caught up in the weeds of all the rest of things that have come forward. Looking back to this, I'm reminded of a couple of questions that I had, and I think they can be addressed. I just want to check if they can be addressed in the future, because I'm looking at these drawings, and I seem to remember having some concerns about the width of intersections for rest points for people who may find it difficult to cross intersections. But I think that we had that discussion previously, Ms. Banfield, and even so, further in the future, when these areas, intersections are developed, there is a possibility to insert an island or a rest spot within intersections. Is that correct?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Corser, that is correct. As we go through the detailed design of any future road development or road network there, street network, complete street network, there would be those opportunities.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments with regards to the item on the floor? Okay, seeing none, folks, for me, I think we need to make sure that we're planning good in routes and out routes of our downtown. You know, having grown up in the southeast corner, when you're coming down Lakeshore, if you're no longer taking Lakeshore, the plan was always to turn Bradford Street into the main artery into our downtown and take people off of Lakeshore and leave that for folks who are finding a destination there. So at this point, for me, to reduce the size instead of have it as wide as possible for the many years of development that will be taking place along there, you know, it doesn't fit my view, certainly. And the other item is, you know, we've had some aspirational requests with regards to new public transit items. One was, could we come up with a way to have a connection between the top of Essa Road and the transit terminal and downtown? And in order to even consider doing that 50 years from now, we'd have to have that lane that we're going after right now. Otherwise, it's just never going to happen. And so, you know, for me, I think it's a difficult situation. I can understand the situation you're in. I've been in it before, and certainly these types of decisions affect individual property owners. They affect individual homeowners, and those are very difficult things for people to go through in the community. So, sir, I understand what you were saying this evening, and I understand the concern that you have, and I don't want you to think that that's going unheard. I believe the council has heard you. We at the same time need to make the decisions that we believe are going to be most advantageous for the entire city as we're making as we're moving forward. So that's my comments, and I'll call the vote. So all those in favor of it, it's approved.
That was the update from Barrie City Hall. Thank you for watching.